During the time of anesthesia, I left my body, floated above my body, and saw the doctors and the nurses. It's called the veridical near-death experience. And I saw an angel floating next to me and said, "My body's a mess. Can I go home now?" I heard, "No, you can't. You haven't fulfilled your purpose and missions in life." And I said, "Would you kindly remind me, what is my mission and purpose in life?" And the angel went on to tell me I would learn a simple technique to heal myself and share that with other people. And then I came back.
Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay, a podcast discussing meditation, the near-death experience, spiritually inspirational and transformative experiences. Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. I'm your host, author, and teacher, Jay Spillers. I have a guest today, Dr. Scott. How are you? Robinson?
Dr. Scott Robinson, thank you, and thank you for having me on, Jay.
It's a pleasure to have you. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your story?
Okay. For those who've never seen or heard my story, I'm Dr. Scott Robinson, and I've died twice. Not once, died twice. Had two near-death experiences. The first one when I was age 17 while I was driving an automobile, and I died as a result of an accident, and I was placed in the morgue by the police department, who said I was DOA. My parents came to identify my body, and there's where I woke up. Now, at the same time, while mom and dad were being called, there was a 2-hour gap in time. And during that 2-hour gap in time between the time they were called and they arrived to identify my body in the morgue, I crossed over, met the being named Jesus, Michael the Archangel, and a third angel to be named later, who we'll talk about later in the story. That was number one. I was sent back to Earth to help people heal. I would learn a simple technique to heal myself and share that with other people. Jump ahead 17, 18 years into the future. I'm already a chiropractor. I'm a medical examiner for the state of California. I'm working as a court doc. And I was sent up to Sacramento from Long Beach in my airplane to track down a patient, do an exam, and report to court the next morning. So in preparation for that flight, which was in the wintertime, I went and took a practice flight with my instructor to practice touch and goes at high altitude, cold and wet weather. I was up in Big Bear Lake. When I came off the runway and went up to about 12,000 feet, I suddenly got dizzy and lightheaded and nearly passed out behind the wheel. The steering wheel in an airplane is called a yoke, and I nearly fainted over the yoke. The flight instructor, Lisa, pushed the plane down to about 8,000 feet, where I recovered. She took me back to Long Beach, California, where I got in a car, drove to my medical examiner's office, and had the police stop me because I was not feeling very well. When the police officer asked, "Did I need help?" I said, "Yes, I need to be able to get to my office." They followed me to the office, at which point they pulled back onto the highway, and I went in for a medical exam. My own medical examiner's office found that I was bleeding internally and sent me to USC Medical Center, where I did an upper and lower GI under anesthesia. During the time of anesthesia, I left my body, floated above my body, and saw the doctors and the nurses. It's called the veridical near-death experience. And I saw an angel floating next to me and said, "My body's a mess. Can I go home now?" I heard, "No, you can't. You haven't fulfilled your purpose and missions in life." And I said, "Would you kindly remind me, what is my mission and purpose in life?" And the angel went on to tell me I would learn a simple technique to heal myself and share that with other people. And then I came back. The doctors who then did the exam on me were wondering what was going on. They gave me a poor diagnosis and prognosis. They told me I had to take their therapy or I was going to be dead. I said, "No, if I take your therapy, I'll be dead." Instead, I went to Mexico, where I worked with the Gerson Institute and Hilda Clark's Cure for All Diseases. And in 3 months' time, came back to the doctor's office there at USC Medical Center, where they said, "Oh, we can't find anything wrong with you. We must have made a mistake." At which point I reminded them that I was a medical examiner and I was a court doc, and that was my job. And they shut up. My file was lost. One doctor retired and the other doctor died. The third doctor insisted I could not have healed from that diagnosis without their medicine, so they must have made a mistake. Said, "No, you didn't make a mistake." Anyway, I moved on to doing other things. I went into alternative, complementary, integrative, and spiritual medicine with my ability to help other people learn to do a special technique to heal themselves. I don't do the healing, God does. And that healing technique is called Einstellen, Einstellen, Einstellen. Means tuning into the source, asking for help and healing. It's become my job over the last 27 years, where I became a theocentric eleemosynary, a spiritual charity of one, a church called Nova Tierra et Nova Celestia, and I changed from what I used to do into something completely different, yet still helping people as a licensed religious counselor and a doctor of chiropathy. And I am now covered by the Romano-Byzantine Orthodox Synod, and I work with people with all faiths who believe that we're all children of God and everyone deserves to be able to be healed. So it's my job. You must be really hungry there, Jay. You have been eating up a storm, and I can hear it crunching over here, so it must be really good. So I thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I had some trail mix, but why don't you tell us about your first NDE? Like, what did you see? What did you encounter there?
Well, when I crossed over, the first thing during the first NDE, I met my grandfather. I'd never met my grandfather while he was alive. I met my grandfather only after he died. He died 2 years before my birth. So I met him, and I only knew it was him because of pictures that my mom had of him on the wall. And when I met him, he said, "You don't belong here. You haven't fulfilled your purpose and missions in life. But before you go back to Earth, I have someone for you to meet." That's when he brought me into a room, and I saw three beings. One facing away from me. He was standing in front of me, but facing away from me, and two facing towards me. The ones that were facing towards me, I knew were archangels because they were huge. The one facing away from me turned. He was the same height as me, had wavy brown hair. And I said, "Are you the being everybody calls Jesus?" And he smiled, and I knew it was. And he said, "Because of your heritage, I will call you the Little Prince of Peace, and you can call me Big Brother. I have to send you back now." But as he was going to do that, the third angel in the room said to me, "You will learn a simple technique to heal yourself and share that with other people." And then I went, shoot. And I got pulled into my body just as my parents pulled the sheet off of my earthly body in the morgue refrigeration unit. I sat up, said, "Mom, Dad, I met Grandpa. I met God." They said, "Son, you had a head injury. Come with us." At which point I went, "Oh, wow, my head hurts." They helped me get off the table, and I jumped down from this metal table, gurney, and they walked me hand in hand, or actually arm in arm, down the hallway, out the door, and into the back of my dad's car. The next day, they drove me to Montefiore Hospital in the Bronx in New York, where I saw Dr. Barry Ludwig, where he told me that I had some very unusual findings, one of which is that my dimethyltryptamine, or my DMT, dimethyltryptamine levels were off the charts, which is something that they find only in people who've had true near-death experiences. Even the National Institutes of Health indicates that a true near-deather has the dimethyltryptamine above normal, somewhere about above 20% or more. and that this dimethyltryptamine does not go back to normal after a near-death experience. Whereas an out-of-body experience or some other kind of experience, a shared death experience, it will go back to normal. But with a true near-death experience, this will not go back to normal. My dimethyltryptamine today is 22% above normal. And that's one of the things that I learned as a result of this. Now, I had no idea that Jesus, I was brought up in a Jewish family, went to Catholic school. I had no idea that my family was having the Kohanim haptogene, or it's called the Cohen haptogene. My mother's side of the family were related to the priestly class of Aaron of the Bible. And only beings, people, men, descendant from Aaron and Aaron of Moses would carry this gene. And my mom's side of the family had that. My dad didn't. So even though I don't carry the gene, her side of the family is related to Aaron of the Bible through the Aronowitzes or Aronoffs, the Horowitzes, or the Simons family. And that's my side of the family, of which there's a book written called The Simons of the Bible. Anyway, long story short, Jesus is in the line of David. Some argue about that, said no, he's not, but he's in the line of David, and he would have been a cousin to me. And in those days, there was no name for cousin, so they used to call you big brother and little brother. You were related. And what did Jesus call me? He called me Little Prince of Peace, and I call him Big Brother. Can everybody do that? Apparently not. Apparently it happens to people who've had near-death experiences. So that's near-death experience number one. Some unusual things that happened that there's no way to really verify. But when we found out our blood tests, our genetic tests indicated this, it explained a lot of things that were going on. Now, we also found out that I had 100 family members who were rabbis in the past, and we had 50 priests in the family. Apparently, our family split up, and we have Jews and Catholics in the family. Only we didn't know that. Through my mom's side of the family, we had somewhere between 5,500 and 6,000 people related to us that we had no idea. Some remained Jewish, some went on to do other things. But because of one of the cousins at Emory University in Atlanta, we found out the truth because he knew the genetic history for the family. So that was near-death experience number one.
You're listening to the Inspire Me with Jay podcast. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. Bringing hope and inspiration to the world.
Well, as a result, I didn't go into the military academy. Because of my near-death experience, the Air Force and the Navy both said, no, we don't want you anymore. You had something that precludes your ability to be a member of the academy. So I went on to standard college, and after which I became a pilot on my own, private pilot, and I flew a Sierra, Beechcraft Sierra C-24R, which is bringing me to the next story, the next near-death experience. While I was a medical examiner for the state of California Division of Workers' Compensation, it was my job to track down people for insurance companies or judges, do exams for them, and then go to court the next day. I decided to become a pilot like my dad. Since I didn't get the chance to do it through the academy, I did it through the private pilot's license. So I went and became a private pilot, and I flew probably twice as many hours in practice as I did in actual flying for any reason, whether it was business or pleasure. In this particular case, I was called by a judge to go investigate a person up in Sacramento. Would I please come and be up there, do the exam, and that whatever night it was, and then go to court in Benicia, California, and present the case, tell them the truth. So as a medical examiner and their medical evaluator in those days, it was my job to go track people down and investigate. In this particular case, I basically died, flatlined, because of an overdose of medicine given to me in the operating suite that knocked off my heart. I came out of my body, floated above where I would talk to the angel, and they said, no, you can't go home. You still haven't fulfilled your purpose and missions in life. The very interesting thing about it is, though, I was floating above my body and I could see what the doctor and nurse were wearing, which was identical shoes. And I also knew that they were having some kind of affair because even though they weren't married to each other, they were talking about certain things they should have never shared while somebody they were working on was supposedly under anesthesia. As a result, the nurse quit her job, moved on to another hospital, and the doctor moved on to another department. I came back 3 months later, told the remaining doctors about what had occurred, and of course, they poo-pooed it, and then my file disappeared. And I went on to a long-standing relationship with working with people who either have been written off by the medical community, like a hospice person. So about 1/3 of my clients have been written off by the medical community, and I live with them for about a week. And I get to help them in 12 weeks, either help and recover and stay on the planet and fight, or get ready to go home. 1/3 of my clients, they're God's patients, they're my client members. They have some kind of chronic challenge that nobody can identify or figure out what's happening. My job is to teach prayer, this technique called Einstein, pushing faint matter, and then using verbal frequencies and or removing emotions that do not serve them and other means called eraser method, emotional release and stress relief. It's a combination of 7 different techniques put into one. I can help remove emotions not only do not serve them, but are interfering with their ability to live healthy or to be able to live with joy. When you eliminate a lot of these emotions, things happen and a person begins to heal. And we'll use an example. I was called in on a case by a fellow chiropractor who was very good with diagnosis. His diagnostic ability was excellent. However, he could not figure out what was wrong with this person. He called me in. I did my prayer routine, cleared the negative energy around this woman, and I said, "You've been abused by 3 men, one more than the other. They forced you to do something against your will, and you have felt resentment ever since. What was it they forced you to do?" She said, "My doctors told me I had to take chemotherapy or they would take away my insurance." I said, "That's against the law. You can't do that." She said, "I just said, okay, and felt anger, rage, and resentment since then." The doctor said, "How come you never told me that?" And she said, "I just blew it off and forgot about it." But her body didn't forget about it. And I said to her, "Do you want me to clear this negative energy from your auric field, or do you want the other doctor?" And she chose the other doctor because she was familiar with him. And he did that, and she started to heal. So I see a lot of things around people. I have the ability to see images and dark shadows, light shadows around a person. I also have the ability to see if there's angels around you. I can smell them. I can hear them, and I can feel them. Good guy angels smell like the most gorgeous fragrance. Bad guy angels stink like an ashtray, and they're usually dark in color. Where good guys, very light and very beautiful. So I can see them and smell them. My extrasensory perception in seeing, hearing, and smelling is sometimes off the chart. I'm called like a canary in a coal mine. I can smell things a mile away before most people. And as a result, I use this extrasensory, olfactory, and auditory and visual stimuli to be able to see what's going on around the person. Also, when somebody dies, angels have a tendency to come here to me and they leave me a message. And sometimes the person who's died wants to tell me something, and the angel will say, "Well, I'm taking them home. They have a message for you or a request." And they'll ask me, "Can you please tell my family I'm okay, I'm out of pain, or would you please do a prayer for my husband? Since I was ill, I noticed he was drinking more." So we did a prayer for this one man, and 3 weeks later, the angel appeared again and said, "You can stop praying for him. He gave up all alcohol." But people will return to me and tell me all sorts of things from the other side. Even my own guardian angels will show up for other people to let them know that they need a specific message to do something or not do something. Now, in that regards, I also do something new. I teach doctors and healing practitioners how to interpret or utilize other information such as the power of prayer, Einstein, pushing faint matter, getting rid of dark energy around a person, or how to utilize their ability to remove any emotional cords and connections for somebody so they can heal. One of the things the angels teach me is that there are 5 things that interfere with a human's ability to heal. Number 1 is fear. Number 2 is overwhelm. Number 3, the third thing, is doubt. They doubt themselves. Number 4, they don't know how to forgive other people. And Jay, do you know who they have a hard time forgiving? The angels actually tell me this. If a person can forgive another person, who's the being they have a hard time forgiving? Any idea?
Themselves.
Exactly.
Themselves.
Yep, themselves. So the biggest thing for most people is they don't know how to forgive themselves, and they beat themselves up over a mistake. And then the 5th one is frustration. And as a result, if you can heal, then you're also going to be able to get rid and clear these 5 emotions from a person's auric field, and then they can return to homeostasis, neutral, and eliminate the negative energy that's around them. Now, sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes these 5 things are not the issue. So I have to investigate what are the biggest issues for this person. So, Jay, would you like to learn how to get rid of fear in 30 seconds?
Sure. That sounds good.
All right. For you and your audience, Jay, write this number down. This is a verbal frequency. It's 8732 9667 488. I'm also going to tell the people who are in the audience, do the same. 8732, put a dash there, 9667 488. Now, while Jay is trying to find a piece of paper and a pencil to write it down, you in the audience, make sure that you write it down. Again, to eliminate fear, simply write down the following number and repeat it. 8732 9667 488. Again, 8732 9667 488. So, if you want to read that number out loud and you read it 15 times, you will stop being afraid. It will cut off the corticosteroids, adrenaline rushes, and the 28 hormones that are affected in your intestinal tract. And I ask people to say that number 15 times, 15 minutes before bedtime. And that's not the only kind of fear to remove. But for instance, we'll use an example. I was coming home from my office in Central Florida, just north of Orlando, when one night a truck came from the left and a truck came from the right from 3 different highways as they intersected. And I was stuck in the middle and almost became a Toyota sandwich. They had 2 garbage trucks on either side of me. I had to put my brakes on so hard that the nose of my little car went down and the back end went up, and I thought I was going to flip the car. The car did not hit either of the 2 trucks. The trucks didn't snap into each other, bounced off, and went their separate ways. So it's a good thing they didn't damage each other either. I had to repeat that number, 8732 9667 488, 50 times by the time I got home. And I had no adrenaline rush, no corticosteroid involvement, no stomach or gut or heart problems, and I didn't sweat. Simply because I repeated that number, and in this case, 50 times, and the fear stopped. So this is the kind of thing that I work with. Also, recently, 2 months ago, as I'm working on the 4th edition of my book, There Are No Lines in Heaven, that you can get on Amazon, either the ebook version or the paperback version, There Are No Lines in Heaven. And when you read that book, or you read the ebook version, you go to chapter 5, module 5, and you will find all the information I need for you to read prior to reading anything else, so that you're properly prepared for a one-on-one session with me about whatever it is that's going on in your life that you do not know what to do about. Now, I also offer for free on Sundays at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, actually 1:20 p.m. Eastern time, for new people who don't know how to do Einstein. I will teach you in a 40-minute sequence at 1:20 Eastern time, 1:20 p.m. till 2 p.m. how to do Einstein. Then at 2 p.m., I have people from 25 different countries who will come and join us to do Einstein together in a group. And that's for the next 90 minutes from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And you will come and join us learning to do Einstein in a group setting, where when two or more in my name, we're working together to create miraculous astonishments. And we've had a lot of people have had tremendous things happen to them. Again, my book's name is There Are No Lines in Heaven. My website, therearenolinsinheaven.com. And if you don't have the money to pay for a big book, because it's 3 pounds, 8.5 by 11.5 inches, 3 inches thick, well, then get the ebook. It's much less expensive and easier to read. It's written in large print. I have it in size 18 font so that people who are older, above 40, can read without their glasses. Sort of like the old Reader's Digest with the large print. So we do that, and we work with people from all backgrounds and walks of life. Like I said, I had just a brand new client just yesterday morning from South Africa. So I work with people from Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania. We have people in Vietnam. We have people in Japan, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. We have people in Israel, Palestine. Yes, in Palestine. In Egypt, in Germany. We have people in Poland, France, Italy, Spain, England, Ireland, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, and the list goes on. We've had one person, actually 2 people from Africa, besides South Africa, in Malawi and Cameroon. So we have people here that we help. We've had people from all backgrounds and faith. The reason the book gets its name, There Are No Lines in Heaven, was number one, I had a patient by the name of Mr. Brown, who hired me to help him after he came out of the Gerson Institute, to help him not because I was Christian in the faith of his Christianity, it was simply because he had heard that I was related to Jesus and that I had met him. And I said, I'm Jewish. Why do you want to work with me? You're a devout Christian. And you even said that none of your doctors are anything but from your own faith. And he said, because your background and your connection to Jesus. I said, but I'm related to him. And he said, I want to work with you. So I taught him what he needed to do. He had a near-death experience. He came back for a very short period of time. And he said, Dr. Robinson, you're right. I was up in heaven and everybody's welcome. There are no lines in heaven. And I said to him, Mr. Brown, I like that name so much, I'm going to make that the name of my book. He said, okay. Well, shortly afterwards, he did die, never came back. And in this particular regards, the day of his death, an angel appeared in the room and said the following poem. There are no lines in heaven when you reach the pearly gates. No Christians in the center, Jews to the left, Christians to the right, for you are all children of God and you're all welcome. And then he went on to laugh how silly human beings are, because we're all part of the same God, creator, the one, the all, the everything, the big guy, the big gal, the it, because there's no way to put a title on the creator. And that's how the book got its name. Again, There Are No Lines in Heaven. therearenolinsinheaven.com. You'll be able to learn from me on Sundays, on Sunday afternoons, free of charge, how to learn this ancient technique called Einstellen. Any other time you need me, I'll be there for a certain donation. You'll read about the donation request on the website because I'm a church now and I operate that way as a donation. You'll read about that, how I do that. I do everything either through Zoom, all my interviews and connections, my divine training seminars and sessions. And I also meet people in person, both in Florida, Southern California, and or in the Seattle area, wherever it is that I travel, that I see clients and members of my 508c1a Theocentric Eleemosynary and my private membership association called Center for Spirituality and Healing. So, Jay, any questions for me, for the audience, or anything you want to touch bases with on how I could help you or any one of your listeners?
So in terms of like your healing technique, does this heal anything or certain conditions? Like, can you heal cancer with this?
I don't heal anything. God heals everything. You can heal anything as long as you believe. This is the caveat. If you believe, you shall achieve. It's part of the biology of belief. And in my particular realm, God is the greatest physician and there is no incurable. Only people who cannot yet believe. Not up to me who heals and who does not heal. The question is, can anybody heal from anything if they believe they can heal? Yes. Does it have to be cancer? No. It can be anything. Myasthenia gravis. There's a young woman who had myasthenia gravis. She had a help in healing. Did I have anything to do with it? No. I just simply taught her the technique. We taught her prayer. We pushed out faint matter. We pushed out emotional energy, and the healing was all up to God. Can the person heal from cancer? Yes, if they believe. But does everybody believe? No. So is this technique for everybody? Absolutely yes, and absolutely no. How can that be? Well, it is for everybody, but about 70% of the public who looks at this will not be able to believe, and therefore they won't be able to achieve. They do not believe in miraculous astonishments. So no, it can't be for everybody simply because they won't allow it, as in the individual. Could it help everybody? If they can't heal, could they improve, live longer lives? Absolutely, yes. But Jay, you tell me, can you believe that learning a simple technique, adding a prayer, doing Einstellung, pushing faint matter, removing emotions that don't serve you, using verbal frequencies like the one we just shared about removing fear, do you think that you would want to try it? You tell me. You know your clientele better than I do.
Sure.
So is it worth the opportunity for one visit? Yes. Well, people say, well, you're too expensive. Your donation requests, I can't afford it. Then come and learn to do Einstellung. It's always free. I don't charge for that whatsoever. So come, and if it's meant to be, and you're meant to work with me directly on a private one-on-one session, somehow that will happen. If not, learn to do Einstellung and practice it. Is it the only technique out there to help you heal? No, it's just my technique that comes not from me, but comes from heaven. It's the technique they shared with me that I was to share. Of course, I have other techniques to add to that if Einstellung's not your bag of tricks. People who do TM, Transcendental Meditation, not probably going to be doing this. I found of all the people I've worked with, the only people I can't work with are people that do TM. It just seems to be conflicting for whatever reason. But anybody else, if you believe in nature as God, then you're one of the people I'm going to be working with. If you believe that the doctors have written you off and there's nothing more they can do for you, then I'm probably going to be working with you. But if you can't believe in there's a God, and if you can't believe in miracles, you're probably not even going to be watching this video. So the biggest thing is, if you believe in standard medicine, stick to it. I'm not going to take you away from it. If you believe that there's something else other than standard medicine, alternative, complementary, integrative, and of course, my favorite, spiritual medicine, then you're going to be working with me because I'll be working with you. And I'm going to introduce you to a world that most people never get to experience. So, standard of medicine, as you know, Jay, they're not going to be even looking at your website or your show. And most people who look about near-death experiences, it's a certain group of people. They are attracted by what you do to help others. Same if they're going to be finding me. They probably found me on more than one platform. Today's show is my 51st lecture talk on Facebook, YouTube, and in this case, StreamYard instead of Zoom or Riverside. But I've been on live television. I've been in front of live audiences, and we've all discussed the same thing. Is there God? Yes. Is there a heaven? Yes. Is there a Jesus? Most definitely yes. Is there no lines in heaven because there's no difference between faiths in heaven? Yes. It doesn't matter what you call yourself on this planet. Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, or something else. There's no such thing as any prejudice in heaven. The only thing they teach me and tell me, never commit suicide unless it's part of the plan, and those people will know who that is. But if you're made to feel worthless and you have to kill yourself because your inner voice told you to do so, then that's not from God, that's from evil. We live on a dichotomous world between good and evil. God gave this planet to evil. Our job as children of God is to come here, master this reality, endure, persevere, and overcome it. Evil's job? To destroy us, manipulate us, control us, use us. Our job? Not to allow it to happen. We're in a 26,000 year cycle. We're coming to a completion between good and evil. And evil is doing everything it can to cause war between people, to harm one another, to make people angry and mad. My job is to teach peace, love, joy, harmony, and for everybody to let go of anger, rage, and resentment through forgiveness, letting go of fear, letting go of overwhelm, getting rid of doubt, making sure that you understand that you are a child of God. You must have faith in a creator, trust in a being stronger than a human to help us reconnect to the creator. Why? Because we're not strong enough anymore. And belief in your own divinity. With those three things, anything's possible. Remember, God is the greatest physician and there is no incurable, only people who cannot yet believe. Are there other things and avenues by which people can heal? Sure. Mine's not the only job in town. It's just the job I was sent back to teach other people. This has been my task for the last 27 years, and it will continue until January 2030, when the United Nations UN Agenda 2030 takes into effect. My job will then be transferred to something else or someone else to help in another way as humanity changes dramatically by that time. So, you tell me, Jay, would you rather bring heaven to earth, bring the fifth dimension to earth as the earth spins up to a higher energy towards the fifth dimension? Or would you like to bring hell on earth and nuclear warfare? Tell me what you would like to do.
I'd rather bring heaven to earth.
Have you ever wondered whether the Bible was compatible with a near-death experience? In my book, Heaven's Truth, the parallels between the Bible and the near-death experience, your faith will be strengthened while you support this channel. In Heaven's Truth, you will learn about near-death experiences and other similar experiences in the Bible. Support for the Bible contained in NDEs, a central theme that runs through both the Bible and NDEs, how the NDE brings the Bible to life for these modern times, evidence for both the Bible and the NDE, and much more. Great book. Spillers does an excellent job weaving the relationship between NDEs and the scriptures. 5 stars on Amazon, available on Amazon.
Well, what is going to happen in 2030 with you? Are you going to pass away, or
I have 3 options.
when the UN thing?
What? Number one, in 2030, when the UN does its thing, I'll either be transferred to another task, and how long, I'm not sure, or I will go home, as they said, the way that I was meant to go home years ago, or alien beings will come down and take me away with 8,000 other humans to be used later after humanity destroys itself. Not my favorite thing either. Or we will spin into the fifth dimension, bringing heaven to earth, in which case we will have much longer lives and evil won't be as strong in the fifth dimension. So that has yet to be determined, but I've been shown 3 options. And what exactly will occur will be determined by which way we go as in humanity. Are we going to have another outbreak of another deadly disease? Is China and Russia going to attack the United States, England, and Europe? Are we going to have World War III? Or are we going to use Einstein to bring peace on earth, goodwill to human beings, and spin our energy to the fifth dimension along with Mother Earth as her energy vibrates, her Schumann frequencies resonate at a strong level? Are we going to go towards the old way and the evil way? Or are we going to spin up towards the good way? And only time will tell in January of 2030 which way humanity's going. So tell me out there, any watchers, do you want to go towards the good in God, or do you want to go to the old way, the way that hasn't worked, where humans seem to do nothing more than hate one another and ego and greed runs amok? Up to the audience. But of course, the chances are that anybody watching this video, if you're not artificial intelligence, anybody watching this video is most likely going to choose bring heaven to earth, bring the fifth dimension to earth, or Mother Earth to the fifth dimension, and spin off into that's my first choice by all means, because I would rather do that than anything else. So near-deathers know the time of their, quote, death or demise, or their leaving. Most people don't want to know that. It is one of the gifts that I have, but I'm not always allowed to tell everybody when they're going to exit the planet. Tell me, Jay, would you want to know when you were exiting the planet? Would you want to know your
fine with that?
But not everybody's going to.
Sure.
They're going to freak. Yeah, everybody's going to freak out. When I do a lot of couples, and I do a lot of couples counseling, somebody's got chronic illness. So I'm working not just with the person with the chronic illness, I'm working with both of them. And I want to make sure. And sometimes people will come to me and say, I've been giving this really bad diagnosis. How long do I have to live? And I said, you may have been given an earthly diagnosis, but your problem is not what you think it is. Part of it's the side effects of the vaccine you just took. And the diagnosis that the doctor's giving you is not correct. So tell me, do you want to believe the diagnosis, or do you want to reject the diagnosis, which is what I had done with those other doctors, and said, I don't accept your diagnosis or your prognosis. If God tells me, that's one thing, but he didn't tell me. And so it changes people's attitude. And in this particular case, the couple started to feel so much better and realized there were other alternatives. And if she chose at any time, she could still take the standard of care and go do what she wanted. I wasn't going to stop her from doing that. But it gave her hope, faith, trust, and belief again, so that she could live a life, because the diagnosis that she was given with the prognosis had just pulled the heart out of her. And basically the doctor told her, and she thought it was a death sentence. When she realized it wasn't a death sentence, she changed her attitude. Even if I never see her again, this changed her reality. And she realized, and she started to follow through on all those other alternatives I told her to do. And only time will tell. Because ultimately, it's not up to me. It's up to God, the creator, the one, the all, the everything, the big guy, the big gal, it, as we call God, of who's going to live and who's going to die. According to the angels, what we live, what we're doing is death. According to the angels, where they are is life. It's all a matter of interpretation and perspective. So, anything else we want to touch bases with? Anything else you'd like to ask, Jay?
So, do you think Jesus and the apostles healed in a way similar to what you're practicing?
Well, Jesus brought down the energy of God right through him and was able to heal that directly. The apostles also. But what they ever called it, other than the Holy Spirit can be called by many names. It is the Holy Spirit, that part of God that resides around the planet like a cloud that plants and animals draw down naturally that humans have forgotten. So from the time of Jesus, it was Jesus who was drawing down on that? Don't know. But I do know he had the power of God within him, God incarnate, and was able to help people with one caveat. If they didn't believe, or they didn't change their way of doing things, or if they didn't change their lifestyle, then they weren't going to receive help and healing. One of the things Jesus asked, are you asking for forgiveness? Do you have faith? Do you believe? And people who can't believe, they're probably not going to receive a healing. Now, I'm not saying they can't. They probably won't. Probability and statistics would indicate that. But that doesn't mean that God can't heal them if God chose to, because it was God's plan. God can even take a sinner, somebody who's done really bad things, and give him a healing. But that's up to God, not up to me. It's not about judgment. So Jesus and the apostles, they did what they did. People claimed that they were healed. I believe that they were, because it can happen. I've seen it now. I've witnessed it now that people have had helps and healings. I had a help and healing in the middle of an MRI. And when the doctor pulled me out, said, I don't know what you're having a problem with. You're 80% improved from your last MRI. And it was like, wow. She said, you don't need me. What are you doing? And I brought it to the attention of the doctor that I was doing alternative medicine and spiritual healing, talking to God and learning this technique at the time of Einstein. She said, don't bring up God, because in California, it's against the law for a medical doctor to discuss God with their patients. And it was at that time in 2009 that I found out that the California Constitution and the California Medical Association had removed God from a cure. It used to be God and an MD could claim a cure at a certain time and place using certain things, but they had taken that out. God was no longer in the Constitution nor in the medical establishment as being able to heal. Only an MD using prescribed therapy and a person living 10 years and 2 days was considered cured. Today, the average cancer patient using chemo lives only 9 years and 4 months. Now, that's not a statistic I got. That was a fellow MD doing alternative medicine who gave me that statistic and then pointed out where it was found in the insurance briefings and how I could locate that information. So the same thing about what's going on with COVID vaccines, the side effects, all those things. And as a result, where did we get that information? The VA. The VA said there was problems, and the insurance companies' payouts are 384% higher than before COVID. Is there an issue? I can only tell you or report what I read or what others tell me. The medical establishment has their own viewpoint. The law has its own viewpoint. All right. The feds have their own viewpoint. The people who read and listen on YouTube and Facebook have their own viewpoint. Artificial intelligence has its own options. It's up to the reader, listener, or observer to determine what is best for them and not to be told what to do and what they can't do, but what's best for their body, since their body should be under their control for their lifetime. So if you give up your rights to your doctor and say, I'll do whatever my doctor wants to do, then you're going to have to go through that. If you say, I want to do something different, then start looking for other options. Does it have to be me? Absolutely not. I just know I have options for people that most people either ignore or don't know. Yes, we can go into the Gerson Institute's vegetarian diet or other types of diets. You name it. There's lots of diets out there, or vitamins, or medicines, or ivermectin and fenbendazole, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of things out there. So my blah, blah audience knows that we can cover a lot of bases. And I don't mean to belittle anybody or put anybody down. Everybody has the right to their opinion, but they always must use their body and their feelings to determine how they feel and what they know for their own self. Because to yourself, you must be true. Shakespeare, you must determine what is right for you. If I tell somebody something and then they say, my spouse doesn't agree with you, and they agree with their spouse to keep peace, there's nothing I can do about that. That's not up to me. Now, did that happen during Jesus' time? I don't know. But it does happen today. You must determine how you feel and what choices are best for you. Don't let anyone determine for you what choices are your best choices. If you give up your rights, then you're allowing evil to take control of your creativity, your thinking, and your ability to function. If you want to have freedom, then freedom means choosing on your own, not having the choice made for you. We're coming to that conclusion. You said, what's going to happen in 2030? Agenda 2030 stipulates that everybody has to have an implant and that all the money will be controlled by a one world government, and that you must live in a smart city, which means a surveillance city, and you must live where they tell you, work what you must do by them determining it. And as Klaus Schwab had said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. I'm sorry, I think of him as a modern day Nazi, and I'm not his favorite person. Bill Gates, if you believe vaccinations are good for you, then you're a friend of Bill Gates. But Bill Gates is not my friend. I don't eat artificial meat, and I don't take vaccinations. Not my style. Just not my thing. From the days I was a chiropractor, not my thing. Do I want to work with George Soros, a man who claims to be the son of Satan, the Antichrist? No, I don't think so. Not my style either. So you as an individual must choose for yourself. Do you feel that we're invaded by Three-Eye Atlas and the Anunnaki or the dragons? Could be. May happen. But is that part of Project Bluebeam? Are they trying to push a one world order? And that's another part of Agenda 2030, a one world order where they will create an enemy like off the world that says we have to band together and work together for the greatest good of all humanity. Otherwise, the aliens will destroy us. Got to tell you, we live in a dichotomous world between good and evil. We have been genetically modified at least 22 or 23 times over the last 250 to 400,000 years by two sets of different individual beings from other races. So yeah, it's hard enough to understand that I'm working with people who've died and come back, and I'm one of them. But the fact is, we are the aliens on this planet. God sent us here as courageous individual children of God in the worst neighborhood, in the worst part of the universe, as a schooling planet. And evil takes many forms. Evil from other entities, other dimensions, times and spaces, and yes, even alien beings from other worlds. But if this is too much, then turn off the channel and go watch CBS, NBC, or some other channel. The thing is, this world is not what you think it is. This world is an illusion of the greatest and grandest style, and only the truth is coming out now. Choose your path, because Agenda 30 is just around the corner. Which way do you want? Freedom of religion, freedom of spirit, freedom of a free voice, freedom to live where you want, freedom to be able to do what you need without harming another soul? Or do you want to be told what you can and can't do, one of which is you can no longer believe in God? That's the agenda. A one world order, one world government, one world religion, where you all have to pray to the same being. So since this planet is run by Satan, are you going to be able to work with that? If that's the case, then that's going to be your home in 2030. If not, you're going to find a different path. Is this way different from when I started 45 minutes ago? Absolutely truth. But if most people haven't gotten past the first 45 minutes, they're never going to hear this conversation. This is a world of an illusion between good and evil. Either recognize it, realize we have to spin ourselves off to the fifth dimension with Mother Earth or Mother Earth, 2026, 27. World of earthquakes and soul shakes. There'll be massive earthquakes in 2026 affecting the coastlines, Florida, East Coast, West Coast, Alaska, the Ring of Fire. Will it take out a lot of people? Probably. So, move inland. Other things, there'll be more murders and mass murderers and people who are transgender, killing people who don't believe in them or give them a hard time. There will be more problems between Republicans and Democrats to the point of civil war, because it's not okay, in my opinion, for people to kill one another. But there will come a point where that's what's going to happen. Will Russia and Ukraine ever stop fighting? Will China invade Taiwan? Possibly. Will there be World War III breaking out? Will the Chinese make good on their announcement that they're going to create another bad virus, worse than the first, and release it in 2029, attacking the United States, destroying its crops, and then finally nuking us so they can finally get rid of us? Are they going to do that? Don't know. What are you going to believe out there? Are you going to learn how to do Einstein and change your attitude, one of gratitude? Are we going to bring heaven to earth? Are we going to learn? Are we going to listen to the bad stuff? Jay, again, I ask you, what's your feeling? Not your opinion. God doesn't want to know that. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm thinking that there is a spiritual awakening going on, and that hopefully we're going to the path you're talking about bringing heaven to earth and that kind of thing. You know, when you said that putting a chip in your body, that sounds like the mark of the beast. It sounds a lot like what you see in Revelation.
Exactly. And Mr. Gates wants to make sure everybody's been vaccinated and had been chipped, microchipped. And they're going to do that in Europe first. That's already going to happen in 2028. Mandatory, all of the people in Europe must be vaccinated and chipped. In the United States, they want to do it and push it by 2030. It's called Agenda 2030, United Nations Agenda 2030. And in that case, good luck. All I know is anything that takes away my creativity and my freedom of my free will and how I can believe is evil. I don't want to go that way. I want to go towards good and God. And yes, there's awakening, but we're also in a dichotomous world between good and evil. Everybody out there must choose their path. I just know my path. I don't know everybody else's path. And because of you and others like you, this story can be told and shared around the world. And it's coming out. All these things are nothing new. Other people are telling the same story in other ways everywhere else. You can not only watch my videos, but other people. The world will change regardless. Which way do you want to change it? Towards the good in God or the other direction? The option is to each individual, because you will create your own reality. I know where I want to go. And I know, Jay, where you want to go. Come and join me. Learn how to do Einstein. Go read my book, There Are No Lines in Heaven. Watch the other videos on therearenolinеsinheaven.com. See me one-on-one, private consultation. If you don't have the ability to do that, then come to learn to do Einstein, to create miraculous astonishments for you, your family, your neighbors, and this world. Bring heaven to earth. That's your due date, 2030. With that, I want to say a thank you to Jay, my host. This last hour has been very interesting. I thought the last 15 minutes were the most fun, but in the same regard, we've covered a lot of topics, help in healing the spiritual way, and here's how to do it in this day. Do it through Einstein, prayer, pushing faint matter away, removing negative emotions that don't serve you anymore. And that's just the beginning of the slew that we work with. Figure out your purpose and missions in life, and to be able to do it without strife. Figure out what your past life was, your present, and your future too, to be able to help you return back to God in all that you do with who and whatever you call God. And I say, thank you, Jay. Thank you, God. And thank you, everybody out there, for watching today. Amen.
Yeah, well, thanks for being on today. And people can reach you on your website. I think I put a link in the description.
Or they can contact me directly through my phone number, 760-917-2625. That's 760 area code 917-2625. Or you can get directly a hold of me through my emailer, healer2besure@gmail. HEALER, the number 2, the letter B as in boy, sure, SURE, healer2besure@gmail.com. Again, healer2besure@gmail.com, or just go to my website, therearenolinesineheaven.com, and you can get a hold of me that way. Again, thank you, Jay, for a wonderful time, the ability to share my story, and for all those out there watching today. See you soon. Love you. God bless. Bye-bye.